Have you ever felt like you're caught in a loop? You know that feeling when, no matter what you do, the same challenges just keep showing up in your life?
Mm.
Maybe it's in your relationships, your finances, or even your personal well-being.
Yeah.
It's that deep sense of being stuck in patterns that seem to be beyond your immediate control, almost as if there's some invisible guiding force at play.
That very human experience of facing what feels like recurring lessons is precisely what we're diving into today.
Right.
This deep dive is all about the concept of karmic debt. It's a powerful framework that offers, well, a unique lens to understand these struggles and, maybe more importantly, illuminates a pathway toward profound personal transformation.
So our mission today is to really deconstruct what karma and spiritual debt are all about.
Exactly.
We'll trace their fascinating ancient origins, explore how they've kind of shape-shifted into modern spirituality, from numerology to self-help, and crucially, will help you recognize the signs in your own life.
And maybe most importantly, explore the diverse methodologies proposed for its release.
Yes. What's so compelling is how this ancient idea, which emerged from Indian religions, has traveled globally, offering insights into life's most persistent challenges.
And we should say, we're also going to apply a critical lens, examining how psychological and philosophical perspectives beautifully and sometimes maybe unsettlingly interact with this age-old concept.
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting, I think.
It really does.
So, okay, let's unpack this idea of karma first. At its core, it's often described as the universal law of cause and effect, but with a specific twist, right?
It applies to the moral and conscious sphere of your actions.
So it's distinct from fate, because your future isn't some predetermined script. It's actively shaped by your past and present choices.
That's the key idea. The word itself, karman, originates in Vedic Sanskrit, simply meaning work, deed, or ritual action. Pretty straightforward initially.
But it evolved.
It definitely evolved. By the time of the Upanishads, those later Hindu philosophical texts, it took on a really powerful ethical dimension. You see statements like, a man turns into something good by good action and into something bad by bad action.
Okay. Sounds simple enough. Good actions, good outcomes, bad actions, bad outcomes.
Well, what's truly profound here, especially in Buddhist thought, is the crucial role of intention, or satana. That becomes paramount.
Intention.
Yes, it's not just the action itself, but the mental state and the volition behind it that determine an action's karmic weight.
So like an accident versus something done deliberately.
Exactly. An accidental harm carries a vastly different karmic imprint than one done with malice. This isn't just simple action-reaction. It's a complex process rooted squarely in the consciousness of the actor.
No.
Which means our inner world, our thoughts and feelings, play a direct role in what ripples back to us.
That idea of intention is critical because it leads us directly to what many traditions call karmic debt. If intention shapes karma, then what happens to the unresolved energies from our past actions?
Exactly. Karmic debt is precisely that. Accumulated, unresolved, negative karma. It could stem from misdeeds, mistakes, or maybe unlearned lessons.
From this life. Or past lives, too.
Both, according to the belief system, whether from your current life or even past incarnations. It's the spiritual belief that these unresolved actions aren't simply erased by time.
Okay.
Instead, they're carried forward, manifesting as recurring challenges, difficult circumstances, or suffering that seems to have no obvious cause in this current life.
Like a spiritual debt that eventually comes due. Forcing a reckoning.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. It forces a reckoning.
And this really resonates when you consider the idea of runabandha from Hindu thought. It suggests that many of our significant relationships, familial, romantic, or even, antagonistic, aren't random.
Right. They're seen as continuations of interactions from past lives, bringing us together to settle old accounts.
Debts of love, anger, betrayal, all that stuff.
All of that. It explains why some connections feel so intensely magnetic right from the start, almost predestined.
Yeah, you feel that sometimes.
Precisely. And the modern popular concept of karmic relationships is really a direct descendant of this ancient doctrine. It offers a powerful framework for why some relationships are deeply challenging, but also incredibly transformative.
It does explain a lot about intense connections.
Yeah.
But if these relationships are so challenging, what does that mean for how long we should actually stay in them?
That's a crucial question.
Where do we draw the line between a lesson and something genuinely unhealthy? This also raises another important question. What's the purpose of this debt? Is it just cosmic punishment?
That's an excellent point, and it's easy to feel that way. While experiencing these consequences can certainly feel like punishment,
Yeah.
a wide array of sources, both ancient and modern, frame it not as a penalty, but as a profound opportunity for growth and spiritual evolution.
A pedagogical perspective, you mean?
Exactly. From this view, the challenges presented by karmic debt are not random afflictions. They are, in essence, life lessons the soul needs to learn to break free from self-defeating cycles.
So the repetition is the clue.
The recurring nature of these challenges is a powerful sign that the lesson hasn't been fully integrated yet. The universe, in this view, acts as an active teacher, and karmic debt is essentially the syllabus,
Okay.
transforming suffering from a meaningless burden into a catalyst for personal development.
So if we accept this idea of a spiritual ledger, where did it even come from? Let's journey back to the ancient roots. In Hindu thought, for example, there's this deep-seated idea of rin, or debt.
Right, which extends far beyond just money.
It basically says every individual is born with certain duties, right, to
Mhm.
the gods, to sages, ancestors, society.
hmm Life then becomes a process of repaying these debts by fulfilling one's duties, or dharma.
And within that, Hindu philosophy gets pretty specific about how this spiritual debt works, classifying karma into 3 types.
Yes, a very sophisticated system. And the key insight here is how these ancient classifications give us a framework to understand that while certain life circumstances might feel fixed, our response to them is always within our control. It's a powerful blend of destiny and free will.
Okay, what are the 3 types?
So first, there's Sanchita karma. Think of it like the storehouse of all your accumulated actions, good and bad, from all past lives that haven't yet produced their results.
The whole backlog.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then there's Prarabdha karma. This is the portion of that Sanchita karma that has ripened and been allotted for your current lifetime.
So that's like the fixed circumstances, birth, innate talents.
Exactly. Major life events, too. It's considered inevitable, but again, you can choose how to react to it.
And third.
And finally, Agami karma. This is the new karma you're creating right now in this present moment through your current thoughts, words, and deeds. This is what shapes your future destinies.
That system makes a lot of sense, explaining both fixed circumstances and free will. Now, karma was already a concept in India before the Buddha, but he really formulated the doctrine in a new way, didn't he? Shifting the focus dramatically.
Yes. For Buddhism, as we mentioned earlier, the most critical element in any action is the intention, satana, behind it.
Back to intention again.
Always back to intention. An action performed without ill will, greed, or delusion is considered to have a neutral or even non-existent karmic impact. This places the origin of karma squarely in the mind.
So mental cultivation is the path.
It's the primary path to purification. In Buddhism, karma is part of what's called dependent origination. Think of it like a cosmic domino effect.
Okay.
One action or state of mind triggers the next, leading to this continuous cycle of suffering or samsara until we break the chain.
And the goal isn't just a better rebirth.
Not ultimately. The ultimate goal in Buddhism isn't to accumulate good karma for a better rebirth, but to cease the creation of karma altogether. By achieving nirvana, by uprooting the 3 poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion through the Noble Eightfold Path.
So we've seen Hinduism's eternal soul as the carrier of karma, and Buddhism's mind stream. But if we take a comparative glance, Jainism offers yet another fascinating take.
It really does. They see karma not as a metaphysical law or an energetic imprint, but as a subtle physical substance.
Physical, like actual matter.
Kind of, yeah. Made of karmic particles called pudgala. All actions, mental, verbal, physical, literally cause these particles to attach to the soul, or jiva.
Wow. So bad actions mean heavier particles.
Exactly. Negative actions cause heavier particles, literally weighing the soul down, preventing its liberation.
That idea of karma as a physical thing is a pretty stark contrast to the psychological focus of Buddhism, or the more abstract concepts in Hinduism.
It really is, and this leads to a critical philosophical divergence. The Hindu idea of an eternal, unchanging soul, Atman, that transmigrates, versus the Buddhist doctrine of no self, an anatta.
Right. Hinduism provides a clear account holder for the karmic ledger, the individual soul.
But in Buddhism, the mind stream continues, carrying imprints, but the being who suffers isn't identical to the one who acted.
Which raises that profound philosophical challenge we hinted at. If the suffering entity isn't the same entity that performed the original action, can the system truly be considered just?
It's a point of significant debate, a real philosophical knot.
Yeah, it highlights a fundamental tension, doesn't it? Where the spiritual model often posits suffering as deserved and having a transcendent purpose.
While the psychological model might see it as undeserved and requiring clinical intervention.
And the framework you choose has profound implications for your path to healing.
Absolutely.
Now, fast forward to today. Karma has definitely made its way from these ancient Eastern traditions all the way over to Western popular culture. But it underwent a pretty significant transformation, didn't it?
Oh, completely. It became a very personalized, diagnostic, and almost psychologized tool for self-understanding.
Right. And one of the most specific modern systems for identifying karmic debt is actually found within numerology.
Yes, absolutely. In this framework, certain numbers are believed to carry a specific karmic weight, indicating unresolved issues from a past life that must be addressed now.
These are the karmic debt numbers. 13, 14, 16, and 19 are the main ones.
Those are the most recognized, yes. They're considered significant if they appear as one of your core numbers, like your life path or expression number, things derived from your birth date or name.
What's fascinating here is how these specific numbers seem to map onto universal human challenges. Can you give an example?
Sure. Take karmic debt 13. It often points to patterns of past life laziness or avoiding responsibility,
Right.
manifesting now as struggles with completing tasks or chronic procrastination. The core lesson is discipline and accountability.
And another one, maybe 16. You hear that one's tough.
Yes, karmic debt 16 is often seen as one of the most challenging. It might signify a past life with an inflated ego or perhaps abusive love,
Yes.
often leading to a cycle of destruction and rebirth in relationships in this life. Ego collapses are common. The lesson is about humility, thoughtfulness towards others, and spiritual rebuilding.
The key insight seems to be how these numerical indicators prompt self-reflection on common human struggles, regardless of whether you buy into the past life aspect literally.
Precisely. They offer a lens. Another cornerstone of modern spiritual discourse is the concept of karmic relationships.
We touched on Runu Bandha earlier. This is related.
Very much so. These are described as intense, often tumultuous connections with souls supposedly from past lives, drawn together to resolve outstanding debts or learn crucial lessons.
Characterized by that immediate magnetic pull, almost predestined feeling.
Exactly. But this intensity often manifests as an emotional roller coaster, marked by repetitive conflicts and deep emotional triggers.
So they're catalysts for growth, but maybe not meant to last.
That's often the interpretation. While seen as catalysts for profound personal growth, they're often not considered forever relationships. The spiritual understanding is that once the lesson is learned or the debt is balanced, the relationship serves its purpose.
You know, it's that feeling where you meet someone new, and within weeks you're thinking, haven't I had this exact conversation with this exact problem with someone else before?
Exactly. That's the kind of pattern recognition we're talking about here.
Beyond numerology and specific relationships, modern spirituality also often frames karma in a broader energetic paradigm.
Right. In this view, karma is seen as a fundamental energy that orchestrates life experiences for the soul's evolution.
Low vibes, bad karma. High vibes, good karma. Sort of.
That's the gist. Low vibrational, self-serving actions accrue bad karma, while high vibrational, compassionate actions accrue good karma.
And this paradigm includes other concepts too, like karmic entanglement.
Yes, where souls with matching karmic imprints are drawn together, and soul contracts. These are supposedly pre-incarnation agreements made between souls to help each other work through their respective debts or lessons.
That leads into family stuff too, doesn't it? Family karma or generational trauma.
Exactly. It posits that unresolved wounds and unhealthy patterns can be passed down through a lineage.
And often one person kind of takes on the task of healing it.
The individual who becomes the most spiritually conscious in the family is often seen as the one tasked with healing these ancestral patterns, thereby releasing not only their own debt, but also potentially that of their ancestors.
So how do you know if you might be experiencing karmic debt? According to these traditions, it's not a silent burden, right? It manifests through recognizable signs.
Correct. The most frequently cited and universally recognized sign is the presence of recurring negative patterns in your life.
Not just bad luck, but cycles.
Exactly. We're not talking about isolated incidents of misfortune, but cyclical themes that seem to repeat no matter what you do.
Where might these show up?
Well, they can show up in many areas. For example, in relationships, you might repeatedly find yourself in toxic or emotionally draining connections with different people who somehow show similar characteristics.
They're there.
Or in your finances, you could experience cyclical difficulties, periods of gain followed by inexplicable loss, or just chronic instability despite hard work. In your career, you might face similar obstacles or conflicts across different jobs, like repeated issues with authority figures.
Hmm.
And even in addictions and health, you might find yourself in a cyclical struggle with a substance, or have chronic or unusual health issues with no clear medical cause.
So those are the external patterns. What about internal signs, the subjective stuff?
Yes, karmic debt is also believed to manifest through internal experiences that often feel inexplicable in your current life.
Like what?
Key internal indicators include inexplicable behaviors and fears, things like strong, irrational phobias or ingrained patterns, maybe an aversion to joy, that you just can't trace back to anything in this life.
Interesting.
There's also unexplained guilt and shame, that persistent, free-floating sense of guilt not tied to any specific wrongdoing now. It's interpreted as emotional residue from past actions.
Right.
You might also experience intense emotional reactivity, like responding to minor setbacks with completely disproportionate emotions.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, like we said earlier. When you look at this constellation of symptoms, the recurring patterns, the inexplicable fears, the intense emotional reactions, it's remarkably similar to the diagnostic criteria for complex psychological trauma, like CPTSD.
The overlap is striking. It truly highlights a critical point of convergence that we need to explore carefully.
Okay, so if someone recognizes these patterns, this feeling of debt, what then? The concept, while it can feel daunting, seems actually quite optimistic because the central premise is that what was created through action can be resolved through action.
Exactly. The release isn't passive, it's an active process of spiritual and personal development.
And where does that journey start?
It really starts with foundational mindsets. The first is awareness, cultivating conscious self-reflection to identify those recurring patterns and triggers. You have to see it first.
Can't fix what you don't see.
Precisely. Without recognizing the pattern, you remain its captive. Then comes responsibility. A conscious shift from a victim mindset, why me, to asking, what is my role in this and what is this here to teach me?
Which isn't about self-blame.
No, not at all. It's about reclaiming your power and agency. And finally, acceptance or equanimity, the practice of accepting both positive and negative life events without resistance.
How does acceptance help release debt?
By maintaining a balanced mind, you allow karmic energy to essentially exhaust itself without creating new reactive karma in response to the situation.
Makes sense. Beyond these mindsets, forgiveness seems huge in this context.
Absolutely huge. It's consistently presented as one of the most powerful restorative tools for releasing the emotional and energetic burdens of the past, both self-forgiveness and forgiving others.
Are there specific practices?
Definitely. A well-known one is Ho'oponopono, the ancient Hawaiian practice. It involves repeating 4 key phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
Who are you saying that to?
It can be directed at yourself, others, or even the divine, the universe. The idea is to cleanse past memories and energies. Some traditions also suggest spiritual forgiveness, like asking a higher power for forgiveness and genuinely vowing not to repeat mistakes.
And more psychological approaches.
Yes, there are structured exercises like the empty chair technique, where you imagine the person you need to forgive and have a dialogue, or simply writing a forgiveness letter even if you never send it. It's about processing the emotion.
Another core practice seems to be meditation. How does that fit in?
Meditation aims at purifying the mind, which, as we discussed, is considered the very source of karma in many traditions.
How does it purify?
Well, some spiritual teachers describe meditation as strengthening the causal body, allowing it to absorb cosmic energy that literally burns away the karmic backlog.
Wow.
Insight meditation, or vipassana, focuses on developing moment-to-moment awareness. This helps you detach from reactive patterns as they arise, preventing new karma. And there are countless guided meditations specifically designed for karmic release, often using visualizations to identify and let go of karmic imprints.
And what about practices that focus more on the energetic body? You hear about energy healing for this too.
Yes, energy healing modalities operate on the premise that karmic imprints are stored in the body's subtle energy field, the aura, the chakras.
Like Reiki.
Reiki, for instance, is often seen as a gentle dissolving agent for karmic blocks. It aims to harmonize negative energetic imprints. Other practices like Kundalini yoga can be much more intense, said to literally burn away deeply embedded karma through specific movements and breath work.
And even crystals.
Even crystal healing comes into play. Amber, for example, is believed to hold ancient wisdom useful for releasing stagnant patterns. Ammonite, with its spiral fossil shape, is sometimes used to access past life memories and help unwind karmic cycles.
That's fascinating, connecting ancient practices with specific stones.
Mhm.
But perhaps the most profound path to release involves transforming your relationship to action itself. Karma yoga.
Indeed. The core principle of karma yoga is to perform actions without attachment to their outcomes.
How do you do that?
It's achieved through the mindset of non-doership, seeing yourself not as the ultimate author of the action, but as an instrument, perhaps of the divine or the universe. By surrendering the fruits or results of your actions, you are supposedly no longer bound by their karmic consequences.
And living virtuously helps too.
Definitely. Complementing non-attachment is virtuous living. Consciously cultivating kindness, compassion, charity, selfless service. This doesn't necessarily cancel old debt point for point, but it generates positive karma that can dilute negative effects and create favorable conditions for spiritual growth and release.
Okay, so while the concept of karmic debt offers a really compelling framework for understanding suffering, a comprehensive deep dive demands we look at it through that critical lens we mentioned, particularly from psychological and philosophical perspectives.
Absolutely necessary.
Because, as we noted, the signs attributed to karmic debt show that remarkable overlap with symptoms of psychological trauma. This requires a necessary distinction.
It absolutely does. A key concept in psychoanalytic theory is repetition compulsion. That's the unconscious tendency to reenact traumatic events or relationship dynamics from your past.
So what spirituality might call a karmic relationship to teach a lesson.
Psychology might identify as the reenactment of a trauma bond, something familiar but ultimately harmful. Additionally, research in epigenetics and family systems theory has shown that generational trauma can be transmitted across generations.
Scientifically.
Yes, unresolved trauma from parents or grandparents can manifest as anxiety, depression, or unhealthy relational patterns in subsequent generations, providing a scientific or at least a psychosocial basis for what might otherwise be called family karma.
This sounds like a place where things could get really tricky. What are the dangers if you conflate the two? For instance, if you're dealing with a truly challenging, maybe abusive situation that someone labels a karmic lesson.
The most significant danger is spiritual bypassing and potential victim blaming.
Explain spiritual bypassing.
It's using spiritual ideas to avoid dealing with difficult emotions or unresolved psychological issues. So, labeling an abusive relationship as a karmic lesson you must endure can prevent a person from recognizing the danger and seeking safety or therapy.
And the victim blaming part.
It can imply the victim somehow deserved the abuse due to some forgotten past life transgression. This can be profoundly re-traumatizing and discourage seeking necessary help for what is, fundamentally, a psychological injury happening now.
That's crucial. These frameworks offer interpretations, but they shouldn't invalidate real suffering or block help.
Exactly. They should empower, not entrap.
And it seems our minds are kind of wired to make sense of these things in certain ways too, which can influence belief in karma through cognitive biases.
Precisely. The human mind is prone to biases that can make the belief in karma feel intuitively true, whether it is or not. For instance, the just world fallacy.
The belief that the world is fair.
Yes, the cognitive bias that the world is or should be a fair place where people get what they deserve. Karma is a sophisticated formalization of this. While comforting, this bias can unfortunately lead to blaming victims. Their misfortune must be a deserved consequence, right? Then there are self-serving biases. Studies show people are more likely to attribute their own successes to good karma, I earned this, but others' misfortunes to bad karma, they must have done something.
Protects the ego.
It satisfies the desire to see oneself positively and maybe find some justice in others' suffering. And finally, confirmation bias. Once you believe you're working through a specific karmic debt, you're naturally more likely to interpret ambiguous life events as evidence supporting that belief while ignoring things that contradict it.
We see what we expect to see. Beyond the psychological, though, there are some pretty significant philosophical challenges to the doctrine of karmic debt itself. Like, if your current self has no memory of past actions, is it truly fair to face their consequences?
That's a core philosophical challenge, especially with rebirth concepts. The problem of personal identity asks, If the you who made a mistake in a past life isn't quite the you sitting here today, especially in the Buddhist view of anatta, no self is it fair for this you to pay the price.
It's like if your great-great-grandparent ran up a huge debt, should you be legally obligated to pay it back, even if you didn't know them or benefit?
It raises similar questions of justice. And then there's the problem of memory. How can one truly learn and grow from a mistake if there's absolutely no conscious memory of having made it?
Right. Without memory, the repayment can feel more like arbitrary punishment than a genuine pedagogical opportunity. It loses that teaching aspect we discussed earlier.
It certainly complicates it.
So, wrapping this up, this deep dive didn't seek to definitively prove or disprove the literal metaphysical existence of a spiritual ledger, did it?
No, not at all. Instead, we aim to evaluate its function as a powerful conceptual framework for understanding the human condition, for understanding suffering and recurring patterns.
And whether interpreted as a metaphysical law governing reincarnation, or as a potent metaphor for the psychological patterns inherited from our past and playing out now.
The concept of karmic debt provides a compelling narrative structure for suffering. It addresses that fundamental human need to believe that life isn't merely a series of random, meaningless events, but perhaps an orderly process where actions have consequences and challenges have purpose.
And that framework can be empowering.
Absolutely. It transforms you, potentially, from a passive victim of circumstance into an active agent with a clear, albeit possibly difficult, path toward resolution and growth.
The true universal value of this framework seems to lie not just in its cosmological claims, but in its profound call to action.
Yes. The journey to release karmic debt, however you conceive of it, in all its varied forms, is fundamentally a journey of conscious evolution,
It demands self-awareness,
personal responsibility,
the transformative power of forgiveness.
and it advocates for a life lived with greater intention, compassion, and mindfulness. These are values shared across many spiritual traditions and effective psychological therapies, too.
So maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with.
Ultimately, whether you understand your recurring patterns through the lens of a spiritual ledger tracking past lives or a psychological map of unresolved experiences from this life,
Or maybe even a bit of both.
perhaps, the true power seems to lie in recognizing those patterns and consciously choosing to engage in the profound work of healing, growth, and self-mastery.